So I saw this news about Terastal Festival, potential new high class set coming out at the end of the year, featuring a whole bunch of evolutions, potentially being Eevee Heroes 2. I wanted to make a video about it, and I didn't know where to put it. So I figured I'll put it here. JLove Yaps, new channel where I just talk about things that I feel like talking about. All that kind of stuff that I feel like doesn't really have a home on the main channel, okjluv. It's going to go here from now on. So get ready for a lot of yapping. Today we're yapping about this high class pack Terastal Festival news article here on Poker Guardian, who are cowards and did not post about the potential evolutions information that we got, which I'll talk about in a second. But basically, there was a new product listing trademarked in Japan for this set, Terastal Festival, which looks like it's going to be the high class set for the end of the year because it's coming out December 6, 2024, which is usually when the high class sets come out. You don't know what a high class set is? Quick rundown. Usually it's a set featuring a whole bunch of cards from the last 12 to 18 months. They're usually really playable. They're reprints and they're meant to put cards back into players' hands. And then they also feature like really fancy, cool, special looking cards for the collectors, right? Because everybody likes that. Well, this time we're potentially getting some evolutions with this set, which is kind of going to buck the trend a little bit. And is going to be the big topic of today's video. Now, the night before that this news reached the internet and people started talking about it on websites and on YouTube, I got sent this. Real quick side note, this is from probably the biggest Japanese Pokemon card Facebook group, the biggest in Australia. We're super Facebook pilled in Australia. We absolutely love using Facebook groups, events, Messenger. It's just like, we're just Facebook pilled, okay? One thing that kills me though, this is the biggest page for Japanese Pokemon cards and their name is a slur. Now, I know people are going to be like, oh, social justice warrior. What's the other one? Virtue signaling. Oh my gosh. Like, you're so sensitive. Just don't get upset. I'm not even Japanese, bro. But I can tell you that that's a slur. Many people can tell you that's a slur. 2024, why are we still using slurs? The next thing people will say is like, well, just don't get offended. I don't mean it that way. My brother in Christ. It's easier for you to just not say the word. It's a globally recognized slur. Please just change the name, guys. Come on, it's not that hard. Anyway, the point is, I got sent this screenshot. Ben is a really reliable source. He's been selling trading Pokemon cards in Australia for a very long time, longer than I've been around. And he basically dropped this bomb, like freaking Adrian Woj from the NBA, right? I put this as an Instagram story. 62% of people said, no, it's not real. Get rid of these Facebook rumors. 38% said, yes, I believe. I want to believe. This was actually lower, but then when the news got revealed, people started voting yes, which I thought was really funny. Anyway, a lot of it stems from these trademark listings. If you go on other news, Pokemon card news sites, you'll see the speculation about the evolutions and the Sylveon Terra deck that's supposedly coming out at the end of August. Whoops. But a lot of that stems from this, which are a bunch of other trademarks related to Terastal Festival that all have Eevee in the name. So Eevee's evolutions and Eevee, right? You're looking at deck shields, collection files, rubber playmats, damage counters, right? All Pokemon card accessories. This one's cool though. That's a plush. It's kind of like that Pikachu felt deck case that we got a few years ago. That's really cool. But basically, at the same time, all these product listings got trademarks too, which has people thinking that there's going to be a whole bunch of evolutions in Terastal Festival. Now, that's a big reach. Is it a valid reach? Yeah, I reckon it's a valid reach. It feels weird for all this Eevee stuff to come out at the same time as that set, and then there not be like a lot of Eevees in the set. But does it mean it's going to have all of them? Like all the evolutions? I don't know, man, because usually high class sets are meant to just be reprint focused. So they're really like player orientated sets that are just meant to have playable cards that have come out from sets the last 12 to 18 months. And then like a few new cards. Like in the past, like Espathra EX is a new card that only came out in Paldean Fates. But it's like one of maybe 15, right? Mechanically strong cards in the game usually don't come out in these high class sets because the high class sets are usually more limited or harder to get, or there's more demand because they've got all the other pretty cards like Art Rares, Alternate Arts, the Full Art Trainers. And so it doesn't make sense because then you're kind of like pitting the collector against the player, and then the player base gets upset because it's harder to get playable cards. Or they become a little bit more expensive. And I think generally Creatures and TPCI don't like that. Although I don't know whether TPCI has a big hand in all of it. It's really just Creatures driven. Anyway, I digress. I don't think Creatures really like that, so they tend to shy away from it. However, given that this last 12 to 18 months, we've seen basically every Japanese Pokemon card set reprint in some capacity, even going further back to like Paradigm Trigger, Lost Abyss, Incandescent Arcana, maybe there isn't a real strong need for there to be one singular reprint set that has all those cards in the one spot. There's an argument to be made that they're pretty readily available already, and so flooding the market with more playables kind of hurts the economy of trading cards. You know, there's a lot of arms in this thing. It's not just creatures make product and then sell and then the end. Like, the whole Japanese Pokemon card store economy, the culture of playing cards over there, where they don't have TCG Live and they go and play in card stores, is really dependent on the buy and sell of single cards, whether they're playables or they're rare cards, they're chase cards. So if there's just this huge glut of playables out there, it in a way feels like it might hurt those stores and that leg of the economy. Now, is that to say that that's like the sole reason to think that this won't have a bunch of reprints in it? No, I think it's like one thing to kind of consider in this huge multifaceted beast, I guess, the Pokemon card hobby space sphere. There's a lot of moving parts. One of the other ones is stores, right? Not just stores in Japan, but international stores. So part of this being kind of concerning or like stressful or like maybe like alarm bells for collectors is that it smells of Eevee Heroes 2. Now, Eevee Heroes, one of the greatest sets of all time. It eventually came out in English as like Evolving Skies with some other sets, Blue Sky and Skyscraper Perfection. But I think most collectors can agree that Eevee Heroes is like one of the best sets in the last 3 to 4 years, like period. If you ask me like what's the one set I would open over and over and over again, never get bored of, it's Eevee Heroes. It just has everything. It's got the perfect amount of chase cards, a few misses, but enough to just keep you going. It's perfectly balanced, right? Now, Eevee Heroes changed the entire Pokemon card sphere landscape for Japanese Pokemon cards when it came out because it was really hard to get. It changed the way the Pokemon Center Online ran in Japan. So that was pretty much the turning point where it was harder for foreigners to buy from it. Introduced the lottery system on the Pokemon Center Online. Really hard to get booster boxes that period. It was really lucrative for people that were able to get it and export it out of Japan or import it and then sell it, even though they're not supposed to. It's like, it's the most fake rule of all time, not for sale in Japan. But if you were part of that system back then as a store, you're making a lot of money because a lot of people wanted Eevee Heroes. So seeing this is like, oh, are we going to go through that again? Are we going to go back into this sort of like dark age now that everything is so up good and it's really easy to get Japanese Pokemon cards? Now, my gut feel is no, because right now I feel like the Japanese Pokemon card space is flat. I was going to say dead. I just think it's really flat. There's not a whole lot of interest. There is still interest though. So it's a really very accessible period of Japanese Pokemon card collecting versus 2022 and 2023, even 2021, because pretty much everything is in stock, recent sets anyway, and everything's about retail price and sometimes even less for crazy exciting sets, or what should be anyway, like high class sets like Shiny Treasure EX. So I think because everything is so accessible right now, there's a lot to suggest that when this does eventually come out at the end of the year, that it's going to be easy to get. You know, looking at what happened with Shiny Treasure EX, there was a lot of hype because those stores that made a lot of money off of Eevee Heroes had interest in there being hyped. They were going to make more money if people were more hyped. And they made a lot of money, especially in that first week or two before and after release with Shiny Treasure EX, when the price was almost double retail. But very quickly, the price went to at retail and then eventually below retail to the point where now it's kind of sitting on the shelves and you can't give Shiny Treasure EX away. So looking at that, you know, the history of what happened with the last really popular set suggests to me that the same thing is probably going to happen with Terastal Festival, even though it may have the pull and like the power of Umbreon EX, Sylveon EX, Glaceon EX, Leafeon EX. I think despite those like heavy hitters, massive cards like that are meant to make players or meant to make collectors go crazy, especially if there's going to be like special arts and stuff, even though that should have such pull, I feel like the weight of all the reprints and this general fatigue is just going to work against it. I could be wrong. I very well could be wrong, but I feel like there's just so much supply out there now, and that's set the precedent for supply in the future. And if anybody wants to make money off of Pokemon cards, it's going to be Pokemon because it's their property. Why would they let everybody else make copious amounts of money when they can just print the living hell out of it and make the money from it that way? So For that reason, even if this does end up being Eevee Heroes 2, which I feel like it won't be, but it very well could, even if it does end up being Eevee Heroes 2, I feel like there's nothing really to worry about. I might eat those words in like 6 to 8 months time, but I feel like at this point, I won't. I want it to be crazy though. I want this to be a coveted set. You know, I want a reason to like log in on the Pokemon Center and like try and get it. Because part of collecting is that feeling. You know, I like having the cards in my collection, but opening for me is super boring. You know, I don't find opening really fun anymore because I can just as easily buy the card that I want for a way better price. You know, the value proposition just isn't there for me for opening. But when the cards are sought after and there's a lot of popularity, I like that middle ground where it's hard to get a box, but if you put in the work, you can for retail or close to. And then pulling a good card actually feels really rewarding. It's this really odd relationship between, you know, FOMO and that dopamine release. If something's easy to get and then you pull a good card, the dopamine just doesn't hit the same. I need like the A grade. I need I need Walter White's good stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's really weird. It's probably worth its own video in a way. But the way it is now, you know, if this set is really easy to get, I'll still be excited to open it. I think it'll still be fun, but it'll just be another day for me. But as a collector and like a fan and a hobbyist and enthusiast, you kind of want there to be that hysteria that just like makes the whole thing a little bit more fun and easier to share in a really weird way. Maybe I'm a sucker for punishment and it's a sign of other things, but who knows? The other thing with this set, right, is I think the landscape has just changed so much with stores that import and then sell Japanese Pokemon cards that it's just going to be so hard for it to get to that point where it's like really hard to get because there's just such a glut of stores and people selling Japanese Pokemon cards or selling them as part of breaks overseas outside of Japan. You know, I said before, it's like such a fake rule not for sale in Japan. Pretty much everybody does it. When Eevee Heroes came out, it was really easy to manipulate hype and get people going crazy early and then sell pre-orders at these ridiculous prices because there were so few stores that were actually doing it, right? Now, there's so many stores out there that they basically can't fight against each other. It's impossible for one store to have their prices high when there's like 100 or 200 others that are just selling it at retail or just trying to break even on it. So that whole element has gone. In the past, I'd probably make this video and be like, guys, don't pre-order because, you know, there's going to be so much and don't get scammed and, you know, be careful and don't get burned. You might lose money. Now it's like, okay, guys, we know how this whole thing runs. You saw what happened with Shiny Treasury X. There's a million stores trying to sell this, competing for your money. You're probably going to be fine. Just don't go in early, wait the 1 or 2 weeks and you'll be chill. You know, it doesn't even need me to say that anymore, but that's kind of how I feel about it. And I did get asked a lot. Man, I'm yapping because I'm losing my voice. Give me a second. I did get asked a lot about, look at me, I'm crying. What I think about the Japanese Pokemon card market and hobby and whether I think it's going to bounce back and what I think of Terastal festivals. And this is it. You know, this is the whole reason I'm making it because I didn't want to, I'm making it here as well. I didn't want to make a big, you know, song and dance, guys, be careful, FOMO, blah, blah video on main. We've been through it. But this is what I think of the set. I want it to be hard to get. Do I think they're going to put a lot of mechanically strong cards in it? They very well could. I don't know whether they're going to or not because, like I said, it's a big stretch between Terastal Festival name getting listed and then Eevee deck case and deck sleeves and collection file getting listed. Connecting that dot and then saying, oh, it's going to have all evolutions with hats is a big reach. Is it a logical reach? Yes, I think it's a logical reach, but is it a strong reach? Is it a strong conclusion to come to? No, it's like saying, oh, I feel like in the next 1 to 2 years, they're going to release another evolution set. Like, look at Evolving Skies and how popular it is. Look at Eevee Heroes and how popular it was. Yeah, of course they're going to do it at some point. This feels like the most logical point given the information we have, but it's just not concrete. So I wouldn't act on it. I personally am just going to do what I did with Shiny Treasury X, which is wait, because that set came out. Within a week or two, the price has completely plummeted. The singles are basically worthless. And every time I buy one, it feels like a week or two later, it gets 20 to 30% cheaper. So I'm still waiting because I'm sick of getting burned. And I already got burned enough as it was last year. And I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. If you guys saw my last mail day stream, I bought like these these Poppy, right, and Gita, right? Look how many I bought. I bought way too many, right? And I paid like $50, $60 each for them, and now they're worth a fraction. The Iono that I bought from Clay Burst, I paid like 1,200 Australian dollars for it, and now I can get it for 400, which is insane, but that's the game. That's what happens, and sometimes you get burned. The key is that you just learn from it, and this is me learning from it. So that's the story. That's how I feel about Terastal festivals. Did I miss anything? Maybe. I did this video in 2 takes, and I'll probably be back for another Yap session down the line. But while you're here, like, subscribe, go and check out OKJ Love Main, where the good videos go, and I'll see you guys in the next Yap session. See you later. Take care.